Hey guys, Jason here and welcome back to the Australian Wealth YouTube channel. Now I'm really excited to talk about a lot of financial topics on this channel, as you guys know. Now, one of the things that I think is holding a lot of people back is financial mistakes, the things that people do wrong with their money, and some of them are really easy to do. So I thought it would be great to talk about what some of those mistakes are. So if you are making them, you might be able to fix those mistakes before things start to drag out a little bit too much and you end up spending too much cash. So that brings me to number one. Now, the first one is excessive or frivolous spending. Now, the important thing to remember is that happiness doesn't come from things. You know, things are good to have. It's great to have a nice car. It's great to have a nice house. All that, I get it, 100%. But the thing is, it's usually not the big purchases that really start to drag people down financially. A lot of the things are those really small things. Maybe you get Uber Eats too much. Maybe you take a taxi too much when you don't really need to. You could walk instead. All of those little things can add up. You know, it's only about 20 bucks a day. If you spend like 20 bucks a day, then over time, that's actually gonna amount to a lot of money. You know, you do $20 times 365, you'll find out that that's going to be quite a substantial sum of money over the course of a year. So it's really important to see whether you really need those expenses or not. See, for myself, the only things I spend money on are food, any business equipment that I need, mortgage payments, and also stock investing. That's pretty much it. So the only place that I'm really spending money is on food and any other bills that come in, such as electricity and so on. If you can get this right early, it's going to leave you in a much stronger financial position. Okay, so number two is never-ending payments. Now, what I mean by that is those really small expenses that you don't really take too much notice of that happen recurringly over time. So things like Netflix, Spotify, YouTube subscriptions, Dropbox, the entire thing. Now, some of these are warranted, you know, like getting Netflix for 10, 15 bucks is a great deal every month. But the thing is, if you've got Netflix and you've got Amazon Prime and you've got Spotify and you've got YouTube, all of those small amounts of money are going to start to add up into bigger amounts of money that are happening every single month. And that is chipping away from what you have left over after your earning potential at that time. So it's really important that you seriously have a look and look at what you have and what you would really like to keep, and some of the things that, oh, maybe I don't really need that. Because, you know, it might not seem like a lot, but if you cut out like 50 bucks worth of subscriptions, that's going to be over 500, you know, it's going to be like 600 bucks in a year. And that's a lot of money that you could probably use elsewhere. So number three is living on borrowed money. Now, don't get me wrong, it's great to be able to borrow money to buy things that are going to make you money. If you're buying something that is depreciating in value and you're doing it on borrowed money, then it seriously is a double whammy. If you're racking up credit card debts on like a new car, then you're not only gonna get slammed with interest payments, which are ridiculously high, but you're also holding an asset that is actually depreciating in value. So it's really a liability at the end of the day. And a lot of people make this mistake when it comes to real estate also. A home is not really an investment unless it is generating money for you. If you're just buying a home, it's actually a liability because interest payments are going out the door. Now, look, you might get capital growth over the longer period of time, and that's great, but a lot of the payments that you are making is actually taking money away from you. So it's really important to make that distinction so you have that in your head. An asset is producing you money, and a liability is taking money away. So yeah, on top of that, if you're borrowing money and you're buying things that depreciate in value or you don't really need, all you're going to be doing is putting yourself in a really tough financial spot if you can't cover those debts pretty much straight away. There's a lot of benefits to using credit cards, to racking up points for flights and other different things, but if you're making any of those interest payments, you are literally losing money. Okay, the next one, number four, is buying a new car. Now look, everyone loves new cars. I think new cars are great, but the thing is, just as I was talking about on the last one, what's happening when you're buying a new car? The second you drive it out the door, then you are losing about 25% of the value. So if you buy a car that's worth $100,000, you just threw $25,000 away just like that. So it's really important to keep that in your mind if you are getting a new car. Now, when you're young, you're in your 20s and even your 30s, it's probably not a great idea to be buying new cars. You know, just go used cars, something that's a bomb. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's reliable, it's very important, and gets you from A to B. Very crucial. Because what you want to be doing, especially in your 20s and 30s, is developing assets. So getting things that are going to pay you money over time. And then once you have developed that really strong base of investments that are going to pay you money over time, whether it be stock, dividends, real estate, over time, you're going to make that money and then your investments will pay for a new car. One of the worst things you can do is go and buy a new car when you can buy a perfectly good used car. The goal is to get the investments first, and then they can pay for anything that you want in the future. So number 5 is spending too much money on your house. Now this one I'm kind of a little bit at odds with, because I think it can be good to spend a fair bit of money on a house because you're going to get the percentage growth over time. But the thing is, if you are spending too much money on a house and you're not making a lot of money, then the interest payments are going to kill you. By spending way too much money, you're going to be left with very little money that's going to be left over to invest in other real estate deals or in any stock market portfolios. If you're constantly paying out interest and paying for something that is a little bit too high, which you can manage, but it's a little bit too high, then you're throwing too much money away, because you want to be growing a long-term portfolio of stocks and real estate. But if so much of that money is going to just interest every single month and you're not seeing any return on it, then that can be quite difficult. So it's something that you really have to weigh up, like the cost of the house and the appreciation over time, and the interest payments that you're going to be making on that, and whether it's going to be worth it in the long run. Okay, so number 6 is a mistake that a lot of people make, and that is using your home equity as a piggy bank. Now, this is not a great idea because it's basically giving you license to just go out and spend what you want. But your home equity is really important for developing wealth. If you want to go and get extra real estate deals that are going to produce more money, then it's really important that you have as much equity in your home as you can possibly generate. So I know for myself, I've actually put a lot of money away into the house to build up equity, because that way it's going to make real estate deals a lot easier in the future, and you can leverage off your current house or future house in the future for extra real estate deals. So it's really easy if you've got the money just sitting there to just rate it and go spend it on something like a new car. But the thing is, you want to be getting the investments first, and then the investments pay for all the fun stuff. Okay, so number 7 is a massively common one. It's so common actually that it's crazy, and I can't believe that so many people do it. But that is living paycheck to paycheck. Now, this is not specific to a certain income bracket. They've done studies on this, and they find that about 20% of people, regardless of how much you make, all the way from $30,000 a year, all the way up to $200,000 and even higher, are living paycheck to paycheck. There's so many examples of people, even as wealthy as Johnny Depp was, spending way too much money and literally living paycheck to paycheck and having to sell off assets and other things just so they can pay their debts. So the biggest thing in this is overspending and lifestyle inflation. So when you're about 20 years old and you might not be making too much money, it's really easy to keep the budget really tight and not spend too much money. But as you get a bit older, usually you start to make a little bit more money. And the problem with that is, as you start to make more money, you start to get lifestyle creep, and you start to spend a little bit more on things that you might not necessarily need. And before you know it, you could be earning $150,000, $200,000 a year, and you're still living paycheck to paycheck because your expenses are so high. So both of these things are important. You're not going to get wealthy earning $30,000 a year unless you make some insanely speculative investments that pay off. But on the other side of the coin, you could be earning $200,000 a year and you still might not make yourself wealthy because your expenses are way too high. So income is incredibly important, but also your expenses are very important too. If you are overspending, then that is seriously going to be cutting into your investments. Every dollar today is going to be worth significantly more in the future, 20, 30, 40 years, if it was invested. So it is really important to think, do I really need to spend money on these things? So it's really important to get off the treadmill of living paycheck to paycheck, because there's so many people that do it. And at the end of the day, if they continue to do that for for 20, 30, 40 years, you're gonna be left with basically nothing at the end. Okay, number 8 is a very, very common financial mistake, and that is not investing. I just cannot believe how many people that I know that have had nothing to do with investing. I try and save as much of my income as I possibly can and put that towards investing. I think I did a calculation over the last year. It's about 40% of my income that I'm using to just invest alone. Now, of course, this is not possible for everyone. It depends on how much you earn, what your bills are, but as much as you can, you need to be minimizing bills and you need to be maximizing your income. If you can do those two things, then it's gonna put you in a much stronger position to invest. Because look, no one is gonna get rich investing like $10 a week. Like you can generate substantial returns over time, like 30, 40 years, but you wanna be putting away as much as you possibly can. So whether that be at minimum 10%, 20% is good, 30% is really good, anything above 40 is great. I know people that even manage to save 99% of their income. Obviously, you need to be mega wealthy to do that, but it's really important to be constantly putting back in to make your money work for you. Because if you're not making your money work for you, you are working for your money and you're gonna continue to work for your money your entire life. But at some point, you're gonna have to retire, and it's at that point that you want your money to continue earning for you. So starting with small little bits like investing in index funds, trying to get $100 away a week is a great start, because over time you're gonna see that your money is actually earning more interest than what you've put in over a long period of time. Okay, now number 9 is high interest rate debt. Chances are, if you're paying an interest rate that is above 4 to 5% at this current time in 2020, then chances are it's on a depreciating asset. There's only one example I can think of where there's an interest rate of under 5% for something, it's a depreciating asset, and that is the deal that Tesla has with their financing. All the other ones I've seen, if you're paying above 5% as an interest rate, then chances are it is a depreciating asset. And these things are going to kill your returns. Now, there's a couple of different theories regarding what to do with debt. Some say that it's important to pay off the highest interest rate debt possible. Others say you should start with the smallest amount and then gradually work your way up to getting rid of all the other debts if you have them. Personally, if you want to make the most financial sense, what I would do is I would pay off the highest interest rate first, because that's the one that's going to be losing you the most money, and then I would work my way down. But having said that, I do understand the psychology of just chipping away at the smallest debts and getting them done so you can work on to the bigger ones. So if you have bad debts, get rid of them. And number 10, the number 10 financial mistake is not having a plan. So many people don't have a goal for where they want to be in the future. They haven't set out specific things that they want to reach over time. Now, this is something that doesn't take a lot of time. It might take you a few hours to actually plan out where you want to be and get little actionable steps. Because if you're just throwing like darts at the dartboard without aiming, then how do you know you're going to get what you want? It's the same thing with your financial success. If you want to get where you want to go, then it's really important that you have a plan and a strategy of how you're going to do it. Say, okay, well, I want to be a millionaire. Well, if I invest this much money, it's going to generate approximately 7% every single year, and that is eventually going to get me to the millionaire status. Because at the end of the day, every single person wants to be wealthy, but the thing is, a lot of people don't have the guts or the knowledge to do it. I think that there's a lot that goes into actually being wealthy, and it's really, like, a lot of people just don't know what they're doing. And I think that's why education is really important in this space, because it's not something that's really taught in schools or in high school or anything like that. So that's really why I did start this YouTube channel. So hopefully this helps some people out. So if you found this video interesting about the 10 financial mistakes, the top 10 financial mistakes, because there's plenty more, then please make sure you like the video, subscribe, leave me a comment about what some of the biggest mistakes you think are in the financial space for people to make. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you later.